Welcome to part 4 of After Effects Essentials. In this episode, the focus is shape layers. I debated if I wanted to do a tutorial on shapes because there's unlimited possibilities of what you can do with them, and trying to figure out exactly what to teach was tough, but shapes are way too dear to me. I think when I started using shapes more, that's when I started to stand out as well, so I feel like they have to be owed a segment in the series. Alright, let's start. There's generally way too much to go over when it comes to shapes, so in this tutorial we're going to make an animation with them together, and hopefully by the end you'll have picked up some of the key elements. Alright, this is what we're going to make. Okay, so as you guys can see, there's not that many layers in the final product, so we're going to delete those and restart. The first thing you're going to want to do is by adding your shape and setting it up. So you're going to hold left click on whatever shape is up here, select the rectangle tool, and drag however big of a rectangle you want. Mine's going to look like this. That's only half the battle. The next step is to make sure your fill and your stroke are on the correct options. So my fill is solid and my stroke has a line through it, which means it's not activated. You could cycle through these options by holding Alt and left clicking on each one. So your fill could look like any of those, and your stroke could look like any of these, but you want your stroke to be deactivated and your fill on full. Now you're going to right click on your shape, and this is how you center your shape. See, my shape is not completely in the center of my After Effects, and this is the way to get it directly in the middle. You're going to right click, hit transform, center anchor point in layer contact, and then go to your align panel over here. It might take you a second to find, and hit the second and fifth option. That's align horizontally and align vertically. It'll always put your shape in the middle. The next step is to hit S with your shape layer selected, bringing up scale. And scale usually scales the entire object together, but you can actually separate the X and the Y scale so it can stretch the object, and that's what we're gonna do. So you're gonna hit this little chain, this little link right here, and deactivate it so it won't show anymore. And then you're gonna add a keyframe for scale. You're gonna drag that keyframe. We might move it later, but I'm gonna put it just like in the middle of these two for now. I don't really know exactly how long I want it to be. And then I'm gonna put the scale at 2. So it looks like it's a line turning into a box, or like a rectangle opening up, I guess. And I'm gonna add a pretty sharp graph. When I say sharp, that means like there's less angle on it, I guess. You know, like it's more vertical lines, but for this graph, it's gonna look like, let's try this. All right, let's see what that looks like. That looks pretty cool. I want it to be a little faster for this animation, so I'm gonna make it a little bit sharper. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna move this back just one keyframe. I'll count how many this is for you guys just for reference, but a lot of the keyframing and animating I do, it really is just on the spot, like guessing the lengths and then adjusting them once you see what it looks like. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So yeah, this is a 16 frame gap, but you know, you can do anything near that. And then you're gonna add a null and you're gonna connect it to the shape. That's the next step. So with Control, Shift, Alt, Y, you can add a null. And to link your shape layer to your null, so the null actually affects the shape layer, you're gonna take this little spiral and connect it to the clip above, or to the null above. Now it's connected, and you're gonna hit S one more time on your keyboard. If you remember the example before, what I'm gonna do with this animation is squish the rectangle back into a square on this 4th beat marker. So I'm gonna add one keyframe a little bit before that beat marker and one at the end of the beat. The one at the end is the one that you're gonna change, so hover over it, uncheck that little check that has the link in it to make sure it acts the same as the shape, and you're gonna squish it into a square. Whatever looks like a square to you. I think this looks like a square. I hope I'm not wrong. Okay, that looks good. So then I'm gonna add another one of those S-like graphs. These are speed graphs. I use them constantly. If you watch any of the tutorials, I probably use a speed graph in the tutorial. So I'm gonna start out by making mine look just like this, a little soft. Okay, I think it looks pretty good, but it's not quite on beat, so I'm just gonna move both keyframes back one frame and see if that looks good. Yeah, alright, that's what I was looking for. Alright, there's a few more things we gotta do before it's finished. we need to change the color of the shape on this beat. That's what I did in the animation. So you're gonna go to your effects and presets and add in fill. You can make the first color the same color that you had, or any other color you want. Keyframe the color, hit U to open up the keyframe, put it one before the beat marker, and then change the color on that beat marker. When you change the color, it'll automatically add a keyframe because it's a different setting. So I'll have mine change into like an orange, I guess. Is that ugly? Yeah, I'm gonna change that. Hold up. Let's make it like a cool green. Okay, that looks good. And on this beat, I also wanted to make the shape disappear. So you're gonna hit S one more time on that initial shape layer, not on the null. You're gonna add a keyframe, and you're gonna put it one behind the 5 beat marker, or one behind the beat. I'm then gonna hit the link box again, because in this part of the animation, I want it to be moving together. I don't want to stretch it. I want it just to scale down, and then I'm gonna scale it down to 2. I'm then gonna add it all the way to that 6th beat marker. And I want the movement to begin on this beat, but I want it to really disappear on the 6th beat. So I'm gonna add a graph that makes that work. Trying something like this. I can move it back quite a lot. I realize it could disappear around here. I'll make the final one actually 6. You want it to be something that you can see, or that the viewer can still see, or else it's the same as just putting it at 0. I'll put it even a little earlier. Alright, and then after that last keyframe, you can just delete the layer so it's not visible. There we go. Alright, there's only one step left in this tutorial, and that's with adding a few of these. Alright, and there's only one step left of this tutorial, and we're going to add some cascading squares that go out of the frame to make it kind of look like a portal effect. So what we're going to do is hit the rectangle tool again, and I'm just going to drag something that looks almost the same, like the same size as my square. It doesn't need to be perfect, but the closer the better. Like, you won't be able to see exactly what you're making, but that looks good enough. And on this one, I'm going to add a stroke. So with hitting Alt, or holding down Alt and hitting left click on these options, I'm just going to make it, you know, a stroke layer. And I'm going to make it 2 frames long. So only 2 frames long. And then I'm going to duplicate it 3 more times. So we have 4 different ones lined up. I'm going to put it at the end, like near the very end. And we're gonna make one bigger than the last until they exit the screen. So you can do however big you want with this. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, that's the animation for today. Sorry if this one was a bit confusing, and I'll see you for the next one.